hands down, the best sex ed that was ever created. Ever. Why? What? Mom, I want to come home. Can you pick me up? I have just explained to the Twitch chat what Dr. D and their chaotic sex ed is, and we have jointly decided that if you have not experienced this yet, it is like the best sex ed relative to other ones that I've reviewed on this channel, except how it would be if you were on LSD. And that's the only way to explain Dr. D. And I'm sad to let you know, this is the last installment of Dr. D and the chaos that is this incredible 90s sex ed. So
he looks busy with pregnancy condition green. Yeah, but should we tell him about the sign?
Sign? The sign? Where? Where's the sign? Huh? Where?
Well, are you hungry?
Hungry? Why?
Let's just say it's launch time.
Launch time.
Stop it right now. I am a sucker for stupid puns, and that one was so good.
I have wonderful news. We're gonna have a baby.
Whoa!
We're gonna have a baby right here. A human baby with all of its perfectly synchronized interconnecting systems. It's so cool.
Here it comes.
Why every time they put a baby on screen, it's always like a Teletubby-esque experience with like the fetus just glows like the baby in the Teletubby sky.
Mama Porchy's getting bigger in the width and in the girth. 'Cause inside there is a miracle about to have its birth.
Well, you probably don't remember how from April to November you were living in a tiny little room.
That is illegal. Why? Stop. That should be blurred. That is horrific.
Oh,
This is
you're
psychotic.
looking through your belly, be it pizza pie or deli.
What am I looking at? This is like quintessential. All it needs to do is make a creepy noise, and we've outdone Emmy Lou.
Yeah.
What is this? That's terrifying. The fact that this is a real kid that they've pasted his head onto that. Raise your hand if you have been personally offended by Dr. D.
You of course remember that all human life begins with 2 cells. And here they are, Emmy Lou Egg and Stevie Sperm.
Emmy Lou's back, and her evil partner Stevie Sperm, and they are made for each other, but Emmy Lou is so scary, I can't take it. Emmy Lou Egg is a serial killer. Change my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to have nightmares. That is horrifying.
Where did you two meet?
In the fallopian tube.
That's not her voice. That's not how Emmy Lou sounded when she said, yoo-hoo!
You see, I had been placed into the vagina during intercourse.
Props for appropriate use of anatomical words.
Then I saw her.
And I saw him, and we used our genetic instructions.
I can't. Someone said she's less Southern sounding, and then she spoke again, and we were all like, okay, I don't know what that is, but it's wrong. I've been assaulted. They saw each other and fused their genetic materials.
You have it. Everybody now, the beginning of new life.
But how do those 2 cells become a person that's made up of zillions of cells?
Zillions? Well, each cell can divide. You know, it's tough being this funny. Let's go back to when Stevie and Emmy Lou met.
That is an excellent question, Chaotic Coalition. How are they talking to us if that's why they're so scary. They're ghosts. They've already made the baby, so they can't be real anymore. Just the levels, the mind of Dr. D.
At T-minus 34 weeks, here's the beginning of an eye. And these little buds will become arms and legs. The beginning of fingers appear. Now all these dividing cells are developing and growing.
Yeah, they must be hungry. They must need food or something. Where does that come from?
There's nothing like a good question. I get goosebumps.
I have goosebumps. I have goosebumps. That was so crazy. It's so crazy. It's so funny. I can't.
From this, the placenta. Beulah's nutrition, delivery, and waste removal plant. which grows in the uterus right along with Beulah.
Accurate.
Inside, nutrients from mom's blood cross over to these blood vessels. Pretty slick, huh?
Yeah, slick. Does that mean that everything that's in mom's bloodstream passes on to Beulah?
Everything. If mom eats well, Beulah eats well. If mom...
That's not quite true. And this is how kids end up thinking that, like, when you eat while you're pregnant, that food goes to the baby. Everything doesn't cross through the placenta. Lots of things actually can't cross through the placenta, but I guess a lot of things do.
eats unhealthy foods, her body would probably be able to withstand it. But what about Beulah? Beulah is tiny, delicate, and still developing. She'll suffer.
No. Actually, fetuses are incredibly resilient, and they often don't suffer even when the person who is housing them is suffering. So things like hyperemesis gravidarum, for example, where sometimes you are like unable to even function because you're throwing up all the time, and then, you know, the fetus is growing and you've got this person losing like tons and tons of body weight because they can't keep any food down. They can't stay hydrated. They're in the hospital. Fetus keeps growing. So yeah, quite actually opposite of that. A lot of times the fetus is the last one to suffer. Now, obviously there are certain things that I would say you shouldn't partake in during pregnancy to avoid potential issues. But yeah, I don't like that framing. And also it's kind of laying the guilt on a bit hard, don't we think? Like, I really don't like when people approach pregnancy as if it is this like obligation that a person has to sacrifice themselves. Like, sure, if that's what you want, and you know, I wish that everyone was in a situation where they had the money and the wherewithal that they wanted to do that, but I just don't like all of the guilt that comes along with it.
And if mom takes one aspirin, any effects will cross over to Beulah. And it doesn't take an Einstein to figure out that if mom smokes cigarettes or drinks alcohol, or worst of all...
So if mom smokes cigarettes or drinks alcohol, or worst of all, does drugs like Dr. D in the Chaos Machine.
Or worst of all, does drugs. That's a great big... Well, you know.
Aw, poor Beulah.
But here...
All system...
No, why is it evil? Okay, actually, why are we shocked here? Honestly, we shouldn't be shocked. Who is Beulah? Beulah is the combination of Emmy Lou and Spermy Steve. Like, what was that reaction? I'm faking a reaction because I need a reaction face for the thumbnail. This is obviously how Beulah was going to turn out.
As she grows, the uterus, which is really a strong muscle, will grow right along with her. Which way?
Okay, accurate.
This-a-way. At T-minus 29 weeks, Beulah's grown to about 2 inches. But by T-minus 25 weeks, she doubles her size to 4 inches.
Y'all know the difference between how we measure gestational age versus fetal age. So your gestational age is always 2 weeks longer than the actual age of the fetus, right? Because you count into the pregnancy weeks the 2 weeks prior to ovulation. And that comes from a place where before we had other ways to diagnose pregnancy, and before we knew a lot of that, we started doing it as last menstrual period, right? So that was like the convenient and really only way to date a pregnancy. But that's not really accurate because sometimes people have longer early parts of their cycle and sometimes shorter. And then from the point of ovulation, then you have, conception, and then at some point in the week or so after that, implantation. So a gestational age is what you look at when you say like 40 weeks and a due date. But a fetal age is from the point of conception, how long the fetus has been growing. And this is actually really important too when we talk about political bills and things like this, because you need to really pay attention to what they're saying in it. They will often nefariously make use of the differences in this and the fact that a lot of people don't know that the differences exist in order to make laws that are actually worse than they sound on paper.
Surprise, surprise! Nature is making sure that mom's breasts are getting ready to produce milk.
The milk that'll be that breakfast.
Right! I love the way this stuff all fits together.
Me too, Dr. D. That was so relatable. I also love the way all this stuff fits together. Oh my gosh. Turns out Dr. D is just a huge weirdo reproductive nerd like me.
At T-minus 18 weeks, Beulah is 10 inches long. The structures of her body are formed and in place, and all she has to do now is grow.
And look how much Mom has grown.
You think it's easy? Try this 24 hours a day.
I love his face there. You think it's easy?
It can get uncomfortable. And every pregnancy and birth is different from every other.
For instance,
I think I'm numb. Like, that bowling ball was so unhinged. And I was like, yeah, that's par for the course. That is exactly what I expected that edit and demonstration to be.
It's T-minus 14 hours. Beulah's ready, and so is Mom.
You can say that again. I've stayed away from cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs. I've had professional care, nutritious food, and careful exercise. And I am ready.
She's like, I am done, y'all. I haven't had any drugs in 35 weeks. I have had no cigarettes. I have had no alcohol. I'm eating healthy. I just want junk food and meth. Somebody take it away. Take these videos away from me. It's good that these are the last ones. Like, this has gone too far.
But somehow nature knows it's showtime. Press the top button.
Initiate birth sequence.
Why did I just have a vision of, because I'll tell you why, because I would put nothing past Dr. D. I legitimately thought that button was going to end up with a fetus being launched out of a vagina. That is exactly what I expected the next animation to be. Like, unironically, that's what I expected was about to happen. And I'm disappointed now, actually.
During the hours that labor continues, the squeezes become harder and the rests become shorter. Here's what's happening. Beulah has been sealed inside the uterus by this, the cervix. So the cervix must thin and open. Later, the contractions are stronger.
Overall, that was a really great depiction that I think would be accurate to teach this to this age group and was actually fairly correct. So I want to tell you about it like as they're showing it. So this is the cervix and leading into the lower uterine segment, which is like this part of the uterus. And as the labor progresses, you sometimes hear me or, you know, if you watch my videos or if you hear people talk about this, they'll talk about effacement or thinning and they'll talk about dilation. So someone will be like 3 centimeters dilated and 50% thinned out or something like that. The length of the cervix here, that is what they're talking about when they refer to effacement. So the average cervix is about 4 inches. So if it's decreased to about 2, that's 50% thinned out. It decreased to 1, that's 75%, and so on and so on. It doesn't actually go away or shrink, right? It just is that it kind of, I don't know how to do this without my hand. So it kind of like moves up to become more confluent with the lower uterine segment here as the pressure from the baby's head or butt or, you know, sometimes there's not anything there and it just does it on its own. But whatever it is, it just thins that way. So watch this animation because I think it is a really good depiction for a concept that can be really difficult to understand.
So the cervix must thin and open.
Okay, so then the length here, that's dilation. That's how dilated. So this would be 10 centimeters. And here would be 0, right? Because this is not separated. That would be like 3 centimeters.
Labor can last anywhere from a few hours to a few days. But here, we're almost to liftoff. Everybody now, 5, 4, 3,
No,
2,
no, no.
1.
They can't. They cannot do this as a countdown. Stop it right now. It's launch time. Stop. I can't. Why? What? Mom, I want to come home. Can you pick me up?
She's out. still attached to the umbilical cord. Then there's that first breath of...
What? Why are its eyes like that? Beulah! Oh, because remember, Beulah's parents are Emmy Lou and Spermy Steve.
They've launched the highest expression of the design of life. And I think they will love her very, very much.
I don't have any doubt that they will love her very, very much, but I am highly concerned that she is not going to love them back.
There's a second button.
Be my guest.
Congratulations, you're a winner! Dr. D sings again!
Yes, a miracle in every single verse. Everybody! There's a miracle in every single verse.
I don't have any words left, y'all. It's a bop.
There's a
What
miracle
can I
in
say?
every single verse. There's a miracle.
Thanks for being here. I hope that you learned something today. I don't think you did, but perhaps you learned about drugs. I will see you next Monday.